Hello everyone and welcome to our latest edition of using the CATIA software. If you have gone through our previous videos, you will find out that we have taught you about how to open up the CATIA software and how to use different tools and arrange different tools in the software. We'll once again go through a routine procedure. As we can see, I have one particular option that is already present, that is the part design. The path to part design is simple: start, mechanical design, and there is part design. As we can see, there it is, and once you click on it, this very particular window just opens up, and we have discussed which are the tools that are required in part design for us to keep it. There are series of options available, but we will keep definite options. If you haven't gone through the window, please go through that video and you will find out that which are the options that are required here. We have discussed about it. Today we are going to discuss how to open up the planes. I have given a short introduction of how to open up the planes. Once again, we will go through that procedure and then we will learn which are the different options. Sketcher is the important option that we can enable by just right clicking in the workbench area. Sketcher option pops up on the screen, and then we have to use two options. That is, the sketcher option directly opens up the plane in a perpendicular direction, as we can see. Whereas if you want to open up a particular window in the definite direction that you want to open up, then you can use the sketcher position sketcher option. Here we can see it asks for the reference element, which is always the planes, and I will click on one of the planes and it will just pop up. H has to be in the positive X direction, whereas V has to be the vertical axis in the positive Y direction. This is the basic requirement that we have to go through. There are different aspects as well there. Here we can see it, and once we click on OK, the sketcher option gets opened up. Now here we can see there are also variety number of tools available for us in the sketcher option. However, like we have done in the part design itself, that we will be using a definite amount of tools here. So which are the different amount of tools we require? First of all, here we can see, we will go through here. Here we can see that is the operation toolbar which is required. Once again, you simply have to go in the workbench area, right click, and we have different options available. Remember, every particular aspect has different tools required. Surface design will have different tools. Then we have drafting, which will have different tools. Part design will have different. Sketcher will have different tools required. So every time you have to arrange this and try to make it as simple as possible. Don't use all the tools. We don't require all the tools, so don't enable that option of all tools. The next option that we have is the profile option. Here we have different geometrical elements present here. I will just simply tell you about these options as we go through, but basically we will be learning which are the options required. So as we can see, we will now go through a third option, that is the major option. Not required frequently, but another important tool if we want to measure any element as well. The next one is the constraints. There are a number of constraints available here, as we have already learned in the part design that what is a constraint. Constraint is actually a relationship between two particular elements of a part design, that is two particular lines, circles, and all. Here we have tangency between circles, perpendicularity, then parallelship between the two lines. So these are the constraints. Dimensions, which are known as the dimensional constraints, which defines the dimensions of a particular element that we will be using. We will get deeply into these options as we move further. I will just pop it back into the workbench area. This is one of the basic options that we actually don't require frequently, but we will have to keep it on, and that is the section option. I will just pop it back into the workbench area, and then comes one of the most important options, that is the workbench option. The workbench option is the one that enables us to close a particular plane. We have learned how to open up a plane by using the sketcher options. how to close a plane, we have to use the exit workbench option here, which is present. We can just simply exit it and we will be back in the part design mode. We currently are in the sketcher mode because we have opened up one of the planes. So we have to keep the workbench option available for us. Then there are two basic tools that we require. As we can see, it is the view, as we have used it previously as well in part design, and this is the standard. As we can see on standard, we can just simply see various options available: save a file, print a file, to have different operations all related to the files. Last but not the least is one of the most important aspects, that is the sketcher tools. Friends, I will always ask you to keep the sketch tools option always in the working space area rather than in the workbench area. Now, why it is so? I will tell you, if I place it on this very particular workbench, and if I choose one of the options, say for example, I choose a circle, then this workbench area gets extended. As you can see, it was just limited to this very particular five options, but now it gets expanded. And in doing so, what it does is it just pops out all the remaining options out of the workbench area. Here we can see a couple of arrows which are indicated smallly, which indicate that two of the options have left the screen. So the sketch tools option always gets expanded whenever we choose any command, which therefore can see us see two or three options get invisible. We might not see those options. So every time this happens, it is a problem. It is not mandatory for you to keep it in the working space area, but more frequently I would suggest it, because it may just hide one or two options that are there for us. I will just keep this in this very particular area. Here we can see it, and I will bring it back. So it may just become a huge problem as well at times. So I will just bring it back into the position, and here we can see it's back in position. There are no more arrows here, which indicates that no more options required. And then another option that I will be talking of is the sketch tools. For a new learner, sometimes if you open up one of the planes, you will see that there are a number of grids that are available, and this is the snap to point grid. These are the two options that will be enabled. I prefer not to use the grids. However, it is basically up to your choice that if you want to keep the grid option open, you simply have to click it and enable it. The red sign indicates that the grid is enabled. I simply prefer to not enable it, and therefore on my screen you won't see the grids available. However, you can simply make it available by choosing the grid option. However, if you want to place a particular component in the sketcher tools up to the dimensions and constraints, we simply have to keep two options always enabled. That is the geometrical constraints and the dimensional constraints, which therefore indicates the positioning of a particular element in the sketcher tool. So always try to keep these options enabled. Never ever keep these options disabled, which may not create a particular reference between two geometrical elements. This option has to be up there. Construction standard element has to be kept disabled as well. So guys, sketcher tools can be kept in a workbench, but try to always avoid it because it gets expanded whenever any of the options are chosen. So please try to avoid that conspiracy by just keeping it in the working space area. Now we have learned which are the different elements that are required. Once we open up the sketcher option, here we can see now in the first operation that we have present in this very particular aspect, that is the operations. Here it is, we can see chamfer and fillets that are available. Trims are available. Now what are trims? We'll learn it later on, but the most basic way is to go through options available in the profile section. Now, these are the profile sections. Profile, the word itself tells us that we need to create a profile. That is, we need to create a geometry using this particular aspects. Here we can see a profile. You click on the profile and then you go on the center. Make sure that the first point H and the first point V are the options that rise here. Always make sure that if you are starting from the origin, you can see these two aspects will be 0. And if I bring it into this very particular plane, here we can see it is the first quadrant of a quadrant system. So both H and V will be positive. If I bring it here in this particular corner, H will be negative and V also will be negative because both are in negative direction. Whereas if I bring it in this very particular direction, H will be positive but V will be negative. It works similar to what we learned in basic mathematics in school days. That is the quadrant system. And as we can see, we have learned about this quadrant system as well. I will always assure and ask you to start it from the origin. The origin is the 0 point, x-axis 0, y-axis 0, and then we can start off. The profile option gives us lines and different curves using this option. So I will just simply then click on the origin and then lines start to emerge. Now we can just simply create any of these elements. I can just create a parallelogram. Here I can see it is a parallelogram. And this is the profile. Actually, this is the profile created by the profile option. I can use a square then. So what is the use of square? I will just simply click here and here comes a square. It is in the second quadrant, as we can see. Not important that you have to keep it in any of these quadrants. You simply have to make sure that they are fully constrained as well. So these are the options that we will be using. We'll learn in detail about the different options available in the Sketcher toolbox and which are the options that we require to create a profile. But for now, we'll be happy enough to stop here because CATIA software is one of the most important and it won't be a matter of even days to learn now. So we hope that you have enjoyed our today's video regarding the CATIA software. We'll learn later on about how to use it. But for now, from me, it's a goodbye.